Hello everyone, this is Harry. In this issue, we'll have a sport drama film, 2 for the Money. Brandon loved rugby as a child and regarded it as his life. He was gifted and had broken records and won countless championships. He had the ability to turn the tide, and he could be called the perfect athlete. In a high-expectation final, Brandon flied with the ball, kept away from the defense and went straight to the end. Unexpectedly, the opponent, in order to stop him, desperate to rush up, and made Brandon in the air dislocate his knee. This was the end of Brandon's sport career. Brandon was confident that he would be able to return to the game after his injury. But his past record couldn't offset his knee injury. As a result, the large teams fired him. But even so, Brandon continued to exercise. He tried for the substitute team. But 6 years later, no team was willing to accept him. Brandon was more frustrated and more brave. He never gave up. He didn't have a fixed income, and only worked part-time to support his expenses. That day, a staff who updated the gambling hotline got sick. In order to stabilize the income, the boss asked Brandon to replace that staff temporarily. The content of this work was to analyze the game and predict the winner for gamblers. It was a piece of cake for former professional player, Brandon. He was very familiar with the players' abilities and the coach's style. In the next week's 11 matches, Brandon had got 9 correct predictions. Soon, Brandon's phone number became the hottest line in Las Vegas. Walter run the country's largest sports service hotline, offered free service to help gamblers predict the match, and drew the money after winning. Walter appreciated Brandon's ability. Brandon was offered an attractive invitation to work for Walter. They also ordered people to buy first-class ticket, and the cash for Brandon. After weighing the pros and cons, Brandon decided to seize the opportunity to make money. After all, his family's economy was not good. The chance to return to the match was also very small. As soon as they met, Walter gave Brandon a vision. His company didn't collect taxes from the government and wouldn't be talked about on the internet. But the annual profit of sports gambling was as high as $200 billion. In short, they could enjoy the money of those greedy gamblers. If the customers accepted the company's advice and won the money, the company would draw a percentage. Walter had arranged a place for Brandon to start his hotline job, and in the process of training Brandon's voice and speech skills. From now on, Brandon was packaged as the creator of millionaires. Brandon, besides eating and drinking, was constantly working out and predicting the results of the matches. The accuracy rate was as high as 80%. Walter was so pleased that he immediately took Brandon into the company. The company's office was known as the place where money was produced. The salesman here would let those who only bet $10 increase their gambling money to $1,000. For all bets above $500,000, the company would draw a 10% commission. Walter's intention was to make Brandon a versatile person who could predict and sell. "What I want is not your money, but the money you won by listening to our advice." This was the most common sentence of a salesman. Walter taught Brandon experience. Try to figure out customers' thought and lure them from small players to big players. As Brandon's fame grew, Walter planned to move on. He put Brandon on national sport television channel, determined to hold up the god of wealth, and made a lot of money. Suits, luxury cars, beautiful women, the speech and behavior of successful people. Those would be the necessary standards for Brandon in future. On the sport program, Walter's 2 speakers made bold remarks. It was like you could get money just by calling. But Brandon didn't read the manuscript to him. On the contrary, he explained to the audience with his most real side. Why could he predict so accurately? Brandon used to be the best professional player, and he knew the secret of victory. So he had ability to see through the key points of the game, and the ability of the players on the field. He didn't want to recommend anything to the audience. He was just analyzing the facts. Moreover, Brandon's 80 accuracy was the best proof of his ability. Brandon's magic power was like a magic wand that turned stone into gold, and Walter's magic power was like a treasure. He even pushed his old staff down to increase Brandon's exposure. Brandon was also very wealthy, and he changed his life. He became a successful man with a cigar in his mouth. Even the most successful sports speculators in the world also wanted to meet him. In order to cultivate Brandon's courage, Walter pretended to have a heart attack. Taught Brandon to be calm in the face of danger, especially in the face of the speculators who he would meet soon. They should show their confidence and spirit. Only in this way, the big fish could bite the hook. After that, the rich speculator believed him under the stimulation of Brandon's words. 12 games a week, the speculator bet $1 million each. But Brandon didn't analyze the game carefully. He just only let an employee guess the result and submit it. Luck seemed to have loved him so much that the team they bet on won. And Walter had got $2.5 million in a flash. Brandon's position rose and became a god. Walter was going to give $100,000, but Brandon wanted 10%. Walter, of course, wouldn't let his employee ride over him and give orders. So he refused Brandon. The cold water didn't wake Brandon up. He forgot his original intention, no longer kept fit, and no longer analyzed the game as seriously as before. Went golfing every day, predicted the results and dealt with the work. Since he became famous, gamblers had begun to give money crazily. But fortune no longer favored Brandon, and his prediction accuracy was getting lower and lower. Even watching the game was restless, always wanted to go out for drink. Walter couldn't watch it anymore, so he lowered his profile and advised Brandon to be serious. After all, he was an analyst, not a prophet. If it was money, he promised to give Brandon a raise. As long as they could turn over the gamblers who lose money one after another. 10% commission was not a problem at all. But at this time Brandon really lost his analytical ability. He relied on his talent to make the customer lose money. Brandon only got 2 of 12 games correct. It costed the gamblers who trusted him everything. The company's employees were also unable to withstand the abuse of customers and resign one after another. Brandon fell from heaven to hell in a flash. Now he was not only useless, but also destroyed countless families. He began to resume training and clean up the haze in his heart. The speculator lost 30 million in the gamble, but he couldn't do anything with Brandon, because that was the rule of the game. As Brandon said, "If you don't like my prediction, you can ask someone else." The speculator couldn't embarrass Brandon too much, so he peed on him. Nevertheless, Walter would not give up Brandon. Even the old employees who wanted to get rid of Brandon were dismissed by him on the spot. Walter pointed to Brandon and said to the old employee, "This was the real talent, not the ability of the opportunistic clown." In order to live up to the boss's expectations, Brandon couldn't sleep at night thinking about the problem. Walter's wife sneaked in at night to persuade Brandon to leave. She knew her husband was a gambler. Even if he won, he would never be satisfied. He was going to keep Brandon under control. He would keep gambling without breathing. Brandon only replied, "Now is not the time." Great pressure forced Brandon to be himself and began to work out. His sweat made him think of his youth with dreams. Now he wanted to go back to the old Brandon, who loved rugby. Only in this way he could judge the result of the match correctly. In order to recover the loss, Walter Mortgage Company borrowed a loan at usury. He planned to restore his identity as a gambler to save everything. Now there were only 2 games left. If Brandon could return to his former glory, it would be bound to win back with interest. For the rest of the day, Brandon locked himself in the office and pondered. Finally, the result of the game was analyzed. Walter received the news for the first time, and ordered his employees to sell it crazily. But in the end, the prediction failed by 4 points. Brandon felt desperate and took the initiative to resign from Walter. But Walter didn't think it was Brandon's problem. He was comforted to say that it was only a temporary dip. In the near future, it would return to its former glory. Walter gave everything to Brandon, but he didn't want Brandon to leave the mess behind. The last game began. Live on TV, Brandon said his prediction of the final result was a coin toss. Walter just smiled and then declared it in front of the national audience. The final result predicted by Brandon had a success rate of 100%. If you lose, the company will make full compensation without any risk. Brandon was confused. He thought Walter must be crazy, but Walter felt that this was the most exciting thing in the world. If you win, you will get everything. If you lose, you will lose your life. When the whole company was watching the match, Brandon left. When Walter looked back for him, he saw only a farewell letter. At the moment, Brandon in the airport was watching the match. The team they bet on won the match. This was what Brandon had expected. Brandon returned home and became a rugby coach. He knew he couldn't be a professional anymore, but he could cultivate himself. If you lose your horse, you will know no blessings. Blessings come from misfortunes, and misfortunes come from blessings. After watching this film, I realized that whether these 2 words are the gambler's self-encouragement. Well, that's all for this issue. Don't forget to follow and like my videos. Thank you for watching. See you next time.